Vanity Fair, the magazine, online, of course, did an investigative report on how America unwittingly enabled the CCP bioweapon lab and ignored all the early signals of danger. The only person talking about this is Senator Rand Paul. Nobody will touch it. Why?
Well, this is a great article, and I urge everybody take a look. It's on VanityFair.com. It was published on November 21st. So for the first time, Vanity Fair was able to show the evidences from those early days when the U.S. government first detected the danger of the U.S.-funded research bioweapon lab in Wuhan. So let's be very clear. In this, the CCP does not have the know-how or a capability to establish this China's first biosafe level 4, the P4 bioweapon lab. So it was actually supported with the U.S. taxpayer dollar. And in the very beginning days, the U.S. government already found that the CCP scientists was willing to use re-engineer the virus for dual purpose, and that is very dangerous. But somehow, the authority on the U.S. part ignored the early signal of dangers and continued funding the money to the CCP lab. And so I think this raised a very important question: is that with the awareness of the CCP's application of the most advanced scientific research for bioterrorism, we still allowed this to happen. So this is a grave lesson that we must learn and prevent, similar things from happening in the future.
So what's the plan? Like, all we're doing is kowtowing. All we're doing is sucking up to the guy. We never learn the lessons. There's no doubt that Fauci and his minions covered all this stuff up. So where do we go from here, Nicole Tsai?
I think the key takeaway from this investigative reporting is that America should exercise the highest level of national security oversight in almost every aspect of our partnership or relationship with the CCP. I mean, it's not just only in the business, but also in technology, scientific research, because, hey, I just saw last week, Congressman Mike Gallagher stated that they have launched an investigation into a joint venture between UC Berkeley and Tsinghua University in Beijing. And they found some of the research findings will be used by the CCP to advance their military modernization. So that, again, is a perfect example that if we don't exercise the highest level of national security oversight, our technology, our money, and our goodwill intention will be used against our own safety.
I want to get to the election in Taiwan. What do you see there, Nicole Tsai?
Well, the CCP has threatened the Taiwanese people who are willing to vote for the most anti-CCP, pro-America presidential candidate William Lai. The CCP said if you vote William Lai and his VP ticket, you're voting for war and decline. So that's blatant threat because they want the Taiwanese people to vote for the pro-Beijing, pro-CCP presidential candidate. So I think this is a test of the Taiwanese people's determination to keep and preserve their own independence from the CCP's control. And also it's a test on the U.S. part because I want our government, the U.S., to stand firmly behind Taiwanese people's self-determination to be free from the CCP's control.
What do you think the outcome will be, Nicole? Have you seen any numbers or polling or anything in Taiwan?
Absolutely. So the most pro-America anti-CCP presidential candidate in Taiwan has been leading the poll all the way, leading the poll. He's a front runner, and the CCP also tried to create a joint ticket between, among the two opposition parties, but that joint ticket fell apart. They couldn't agree. And so that is another advantage for the DPP, which is the Democratic Progressive Party, which is the most pro-America anti-CCP party, to gain an upper hand. So I think that, next year we're very likely to see a very strong pro-independence, pro-America, anti-CCP government to continue in operation, just like President Tsai Ing-wen.
Ticket warnings about the Wuhan lab and a possible cover-up 3 years before the COVID pandemic. That's raising new questions about China's role in the global health disaster and what Dr. Fauci knew about it. All this as China struggles with an alarming surge of respiratory illnesses, overloading medical centers.
We're now learning a U.S. health official working for Dr. Fauci raised serious safety concerns 6 years ago in 2017 after taking a tour of the lab in Wuhan, China's first ever level 4 biosafety lab for handling dangerous pathogens.
The U.S. official was shocked and alarmed after learning the lab was considering plans to reverse engineer the deadly Ebola virus. But when she told superiors before writing her report, she was ordered to delete any reference to Ebola.
Well, more on this. Rich Edson follows it up on what they knew and why they might want to hide that critical information.
This U.S. health worker toured the Wuhan Institute of Virology just as it was about to open its most secure lab. And Chinese officials were admitting they needed more expertise to operate it. This is the same facility that some believe U.S. officials started COVID-19 with an accidental lab leak. The U.S. health official touring the lab worked for the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. That's part of the National Institutes of Health, or NIH. In emails obtained by Fox, she wrote to other NIH officials that, during her tour, a technician at the Wuhan lab complained it was illegal to import Ebola to China to study it. The NIH worker then wrote to other department officials, quote, I remember he said that since they don't have the Ebola virus, they had, quote, considered using reverse genetics to create the virus. I was shocked to hear what he said that. I also worry the reaction of people in Washington when they read this. The technician is only a worker, not a decision maker, nor a PI, principal investigator. So how much we should believe what he said. She wrote, if that got out, it would be difficult to get more information about the lab. 2 days later, she received the reply, quote, as we discussed, delete that comment. That detail never made it into her official report. Former U.S. officials say this is just one of many concerns about that lab.
Well, it highlights we don't know enough about what really is going on at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, whether they're hiding some of their research, they're just not being truthful.
We asked the NIH to comment on omitting these details from the final cable and whether NIH officials had or have any concerns about the Wuhan lab. We did not get a response to those.